creating an organization which will help you reach that particular purpose of yours. And in fact, I was actually reading, I think some of you have read this particular book called Go Kiss the World. And this is a story which probably many of you would be knowing. You should actually read that and see how in fact an individual who probably comes from a very, down market tiny town of Orissa, and he starts a whole venture of his own called Mindtree. His whole journey has been captured in that particular book. So oftentimes we think that only if you are a Harvard pass out or a INSEAD pass out or an IIM Ahmedabad pass out you can make changes. No, that is not true. Every individual has got the strength. The only thing is we need to understand why are we not at par when it comes to development all across the country. I was actually traveling down south in Kerala and I came back pretty dejected. I thought the state was doing such a fantastic job, Kerala. In fact, the villages were such beautiful. And when I come down to UP, I see the villages of UP and Bihar, I am actually ashamed. There might be a day when Kerala people can actually stand up and say, I am not going to contribute towards the national coffers because my money is being taken and given to these politicians so that they can actually develop, lesser developed states, but the politicians are not doing a good job. And states like Bihar, UP, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, they are not doing justice to the money that is being collected. The same thing probably Gujarat might say. The GDP growth rate of Gujarat is 10%. Now they might say that why should I actually do the hard work and the central government will take money from us and give it to states like UP and Bihar or Madhya Pradesh, or for that matter the lesser developed states, and the politicians there play dirty politics in using that money and the people still remain poor. So they might actually question this particular wisdom of sharing wealth. And if we do not do anything at a urgent level, then probably our country might actually head for disintegration. The point is, the challenge is in front of the youth. And probably educational institutions should take the lead in sensitizing this problem and highlighting the gravity of this problem to the students so that they can take up this issue. And one of the ways of doing this, I feel, is entrepreneurship. And I will actually touch upon 3 basic points in this particular address, and then I will leave the floor open to my eminent guests here. I would say that entrepreneurship is all about pursuing a particular passion of yours. It is not about wealth creation. Wealth creation is something which happens automatically if you are pursuing your passion. The point is whether we know what my passion is, or whether we know what our passion is, and what is it that we want to do. So in fact, some of you are here, you would have actually got an idea of this particular word called passion and this purpose when you would have actually had discussions with Professor Tripathi and Professor Devidasan. We need to actually do a lot of soul searching ourselves. What are we good at? What should we want to do? How are we going to impact the society? Can we impact the society? Or can we delegate the responsibility to some of these politicians who are probably, they are the biggest failures. They are probably failing us.
Last 8-9 years, that's an experience I have. Probably there's an opportunity for me. And that's a time when I started really focusing it, and I thought, let me start putting all my efforts on it. But again, financial constraints, how do you get people on board, how do you pay salaries, how do you pay rent, and especially when you're working for a company like HP, the expectations are rocket high. They say you want to be this, you want to be that. Somehow I managed it. I became the HR of the company, I became the delivery guy of the company, the admin person of the company. I did everything, plus hired some people. But I knew that if I have to survive with this company, I have to get into processes, systems. That's the only way I can survive with it. So I did that. I did an ISO certification that time, and we were 5 people. Got ESI registration, got PF registration, and in fact that time HP had a lot of vendors who were doing business with them on a much higher scale, but they never had these systems. That really helped me. And what I'm trying to tell you here is probably you have to foresee an opportunity. You have to prepare yourself that if I have to grow in this area, what do I need it? Not wait for them to tell you. So that's how it happened, and then we started building this organization. But there was a time when it came where we found that we want to get into the second leap now. It's the way we are managing it. There's an opportunity for us to grow much higher. So we look for venture funding. And again, venture funding was a new word for me. What is this venture funding? So started working here and there. Visiting offices, very, very tough, very, very tough. And especially I'm talking about 88, 89. So today it's a much, much easier platform, and today with the internet and all that, very, very easy. Very, very tough that time. But I realized that if I had to go to these people, my first 10-15 minutes was going to be very, very critical. So I'm just telling you, whenever you have this opportunity to present, those 10 or 15 minutes, your initial 10 or 15 minutes is very, very important to you. And the moment you enter into the room and you see that he's trying to look here and there, I think probably it's a sign to you, probably you have to look for somebody else. So fortunately for us, we tried many things, and then there was a company called Sriram Venture Fund. It's a Government of India venture fund. So we were fortunate of it. We got 50 lakhs, so first round of money from them. 50 lakh was a big money for us that time. So we set up a call center also. In the meantime, the organization started building. We had the whole organization created. Started writing accounts. Then again we thought, probably now we reached a stage and we want to be the head in this segment. If you want to be in this business, we want to be the best in this class. So again, we needed more funds. So probably we had an opportunity of looking some more venture VC people. By that time, we had created the team. By that time, we had created the organization. By that, we had the products to offer. So it was much, much easier for us when the second round of funding came in. So I exited out of this company 3 years back. So this company had about 3,000 people on board. We were present in about 23 states. All the big clients. We were the largest third-party neutral service provider for IT and telecom products in India. So I think, like I said, this all was possible probably because of the team, because of the people which we have in the system, because of the vision which we had. In the last 3 years, I exited of that organization. I have been helping some organizations, especially with my expertise, which I gained over a period of time. As an entrepreneur, you are not only doing the delivery, you have an expertise on HR, you have an expertise on admin, you have an expertise on finance. I think you're an all-rounder. So, when you go and work for a company like HP, IBM, Infosys, you'll be very, very confined to the area where you work. You will never have an opportunity to have the expertise, which is completely needed for as an entrepreneur. So, in the last 3 years, I tried helping the company. Today, I am on the board of 2 companies, which one is in the source power space, very different from the IT. Second is again on the service space. Again, very, very small companies, but I think you want to make them big. So probably with the right team, with the right structure. So, if I have to talk about my journey, I think, like I said, your ability to take risk, I think that was number 1. Opportunity, number 2. Right opportunity, you have to see this opportunity. If you are getting into an area where you see too many people already there. I would like to have a lot of QAs, because I think you have a lot of questions. I have done in a couple of colleges around in this area, so I was fortunate enough to go to a couple of colleges here. But I know there are a lot of questions, so I think I will leave it to a QA session. Whatever questions you have, probably I will try my best to answer them. And I know you are at a stage, like he said, entrepreneurship, he said we should do it for a social cause. Like he said, probably money should not be only the challenge. But the moment he goes to a VC, if you tell a VC that you don't want to make money, no VC will come to you. So there are different challenges which you have to see. So now how do you get into that social cause? Where do you get money for that? So it's very easy to say that. I would also like to do a lot on that. But where do I get money from that? Either it's our own money. Probably the moment there are only few VCs, or tell the PE funds, VC incubators in whatever form. But everybody will look for making money for it. That's why he's investing on you. So that's a very, very challenge. So probably maybe I can take more inputs from you. What's the best way to get money for those such businesses? So otherwise, all of us will love to you. I'm sure when you all have come here, either somebody must have taken a loan, or probably it's your father's money or somebody's money. So very, very, unless you already have a lot of money, probably it will be much easier for you to look for those opportunities which can help us help the social cause also. I'm not saying that's not important. That's important. As we as a human being, I think that's our fundamental duty towards this world. So I also myself run some of those organizations. I'm not saying that, but I'm just trying to tell you that the moment you start looking for funding, money, some of those things you have to keep in mind. If you tell him that because in the last college this discussion happened, and
like entrepreneurship, and then we're talking about as an inclusive growth. And it took me a few days, because it's been like 2 weeks now when we talked about this topic. And I said, okay, I don't know about it, but let's jump on it. And let's try to discover myself what it means. So I started figuring out a few things in the last, I would say, few weeks, or I would say only 2 weeks, a couple of weeks. And mainly around because I travel a lot, so it's mainly been in my flights, on my sitting at the airport. I spend time just thinking about what's happening around at the airport, buildings and the offices I'm visiting in different parts of the country in the last 2 weeks, to figure out something which I can speak on this forum. I also try to figure out a few slides, maybe just 10 slides. I try to make sure I don't put a lot of characters into it, because I don't like putting a lot of characters. It's mainly about, I prefer to put some pictures or some videos, because you already do a lot of character reading in your childhood from nursery till now. So it's, I find it pretty boring. Without going further into this detail, I can go straight to my presentation. And just to add before I start, I think what Mr. Bhattacharya and Mr. Boza was saying, I'm just trying to capture a few words and go and sit there, because I already been spoke about quite a similar thing, so the whole extract of the things which I basically try to put together. Just to add a brief bit more about me, besides what has been said in the session. I'm a working professional. I work 5 days, like at least 60 hours in those 5 days. And the remaining on the weekend, I basically do kind of social service, which means social service for students. So basically interact with students, like mainly the business school people, the students. I try to interact with them, help them in terms of their aspirations, where they want to go, try to align where the world is going, or how the world will look like in the next 1 decade or next 2 decades, and how you can change yourself and give a direction to yourself. So then I just try to put a line what I exactly do in those weekends, which is kind of a social service. I spend a lot of time with students. So change the world by helping people to find what excites them. So how to discover yourself, what Mr. Moza was saying, also Mr. Bhattacharya, is about how to discover yourself. So I kind of try to interact with people in terms of discovering themselves. What they really like, what is the passion they have, which is kind of the basic need of entrepreneurship. And how to discover yourself. I think that's the basic problem we have. We try to figure out the problems all around the world, but we don't know about ourselves. And I think that's the first step to start your journey, about where you want to go, what is your aspiration, what you like, what do you want to do in your job, what do you want to do as an entrepreneurship, and where you want to land. So that's where all the things I do for the students to help them. That's here where we start our journey. From day one, as we go to kindergarten, we start with books. And we land with more and more books as we grow up. I don't know how much of this we remember, how much of it we use, but that's how we grow up, and we think we become more educated, more highly professional. Maybe it gives us a lot of money, maybe, I'm not sure. But what else is given besides money? A lot of problems what we're facing in the world today. So what I'm trying to put here by these just two pictures is saying, is the books is the start of journey? Yes, in one way, yes. But the real journey starts once you close the books. Because books are just to tell you what already exists in the world. And we have to look at the things which we're still trying to discover, even about ourselves. So that's where I'm trying to put that we educate ourselves so much that we don't know where we want to go. Because we learn everything, and everything. Where it's talk about history, geography, whatever you name it, you have learned everything. And I think everybody is genius in that way. Especially all Indians are genius. Because we know everything. But we still have a lot of problems, right? As we said, we have, I think, really requirement is entrepreneurship. And I think that's the key of making an inclusive growth. Especially for India and to the world, has to make the whole dimension change. Because we are working through a very different phenomena in the world these days. I touched base few of the items when I had a a session, I think, a few months back here at Sriram. I'm not sure how many of you were there. And it was more about how the world is changing the dimension. And we don't, the books may not be, or the education which we're going through may not be enough. Because of this education, we are where we are today in terms of our damage of our financial system, the ethics, the values, everything is damaging. Maybe it's just because of the books or something else, I don't know. But I think we all educated and that's where we are landed today. So I think we need a different dimension to the whole problem. And that's why we have a lot of opportunities, right? So which you can encash, because you're all prone to solve. Some logos there I just put for your reference, because most of you will be knowing about them. And I work for a few of them, or in different capacities and so. But one thing is common in these brands, right? Anybody can tell what is common in all these brands? And go and get it. Although there are more things, we try to make it more complex, and we can look at those dimensions, like as mentioned by Mr. Rosa, which is like, you have to look at the opportunities, you have to look at the market where you want to play. But I think all this, it's important to know about the passion which you want to drive. Rest everything will come on its own. You will discover rest everything is. Discovering yourself is a difficult job, rest everything is simple. And on entrepreneurship, just to add, I tried 4 companies, starting myself as an entrepreneur. I failed in 3. And it's been like 6 years now, and I started now again 2 years back, which you see the logo here, the blue-orange. It doesn't exist as such anywhere in this space yet, but it exists in my weekends when I do social service for students. And I don't have to really socialize my company as such, or my brand as such, because it's just social work, which will speak to us it's on its own, maybe in next 5 years, 6 years, because I'm running some real great projects with some good business schools in India, or well, I would say most of them are in the northern part of the country. And I have students who are running those projects, which will hopefully will change the way we look at things in the next 5, 6 years. Because the things which we are doing will take some time. Things have started, the projects are already going, but maybe we'll see results in 5, 6 years. And I'm just waiting for it. I'm eagerly working for those projects every weekend. I just go and spend my time there. And I think that's where, and these are the people like you, they are no different. They are like first year MBA students from different colleges, and they come up they identify the passion. We spoke about different things, and they identify this important bit of passion. And then everything was reversed, and they started these programs. And they've been doing it for more than a year now, and it's just getting better and better and better. And one of these programs is, as we were discussing with Professor Kwadi also this afternoon, is about changing the education system of the world. Not the country, not the city, but of the world. And this lady is really working hard to look at the ways of how to change the system. What is wrong in our education system, and how to make it work so it becomes a better world to live in. Entrepreneurship. What it means for you. Anybody from here? These are all the smart girls here, and then I come to the boys. What is you smart? What it means for entrepreneurship for you?
Start a new business.
Sorry?
Start a new business.
Start a new business. Okay. Good attribute.
So start your own business.
Innovative thinking.
Sorry?
I said innovative thinking of a new concept.
Very good. And entrepreneurship is nothing but what we just spoke about in the last half an hour. This was the challenge. So I think that's where it is entrepreneurship. I just try to capture the same things or similar things, and what it means is just about, it's just one statement for me. If you have created a business around your passion, you are an entrepreneur. And I think the biggest problem is just about doing the passion first. That's our thing which we start looking into if we really want to be entrepreneurs. I said that taking up a job is the easiest thing in the world. That's the easiest thing. The moment you think anything out of a job, everything looks difficult. And entrepreneurship is the most difficult thing you can learn at your age. I've been talking to 3 students in the last 1.5 years. First year students of management schools, and I will ask them what their aspirations are, what they want to do. Not about just passion, just wanting to understand what are the kids of these schools are thinking. Because I'm into the country 43 years back, I've been most of the time being abroad. I spent long years in Europe and in England. And for me, I just find it very interesting to know about how we're thinking, how our generation in India is thinking about this terms of their future and the country and the world and about their own needs. And I saw them that they want to be what they call an entrepreneur. There's one, he's still I'm interacting with a lot. He said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start something, but I will start in 5 years from now because I don't have money. I think that's where the first one is right. If you want to be an entrepreneur, then you don't have to think about that you don't have money. You have to put a business case to how to get money. Good businessmen don't do business on their own money. They do business on the money of other people, investors and venture capitalists. If you want to be an entrepreneur, businessman, it has to be somebody else's business. Otherwise, you will not start your business in the next 10 years or 20 years. And by the time your energy is lost, you are as old as me or other people on this floor, which we find it difficult. We are not enough risk takers now. Like I said, I flopped 3 times in business, but I then started social because that's where my passion is. To help the communities, to help the students, to look at the different dimensions of this world, and to share my experience across the globe, what I have learned, what I have observed in the people, and how they're changing life now. In the places where they've already been 200 years back in the same state as we are today. So I'm talking about that situation, that cycle I have observed, and I try to capture and share those with students, how we align ourselves for the future which is waiting for us 20 years down the line. Entrepreneurship doesn't have an age. It can start as well as high school, as everybody else, Bill Gates. So don't think there's an age, and you don't need any high-end education. It can be
with the limited manpower support available to me, so how do I use the resources, in what way, and I create something. The small entrepreneurs make them big. That's the only way. That time, perhaps now, things are so different. 86, maybe 26 years back, TV was not coming for a day. Transmission was only maybe 6 to 10 or 6 to 9. There was no transmission, the people using VCR to repair TVs. With the power situation is pretty bad in movies, that time you can imagine how it will be. So a man goes to a place called Dinki, he goes there for servicing a TV set, there is no power, he comes back, he said, "Kya ho sahab? I can't repair a TV, there is no power." What to do? That struck me, if there is no power, there is no work. What I'm doing the manpower sitting in my office? No power. Okay, VCR, and power is there, VCR will work, and the transmission will not be there, but I will show the repair the TV and check it out if it's okay or not. So then I generated one scheme, actually, I made it. Matter of fact, I was just telling the party that being a national company at the front that time, early brand, I took permission from RN that I'd like to create more pricing. I said, what nonsense, yeah? Government company pricing is same outside. I said, believe me, it will not be misused. Well, I want to create some resources myself. So I use that pricing tool to create some additional funds, which I use to create an incentive scheme for the so-called backward areas, for the leaders, for the entrepreneurs, which I told them, Mr. So-and-so, to sell government TVs, I'll give you one small 5 kV generator, which you can use when a man comes here. You tell all guys around that so-and-so day the engineer will come, will repair the TVs, let all the TVs come to your place, no matter where it has been purchased from. So what happened? Fantastic thing happened. No matter where the TV was purchased, from which dealer, that dealer was the focal point. Everybody brought his TVs there, he switched on the generator, thieves are repaired, the person came back happily, complaint solved. That's I call different thinking. I mean, entrepreneur thinking, solving a problem and finding a solution for it. The problem is when you talk about startups and all those big things, you people will not be able to relate to it. I was talking to a person, a student in this college only. I asked him, see, in my college I was taking CV, I found a lot of guys have family businesses, but nobody wants to do that, look into that. So I asked him, what you are doing? Sir, मेरे घर में welding का काम होता है. मैंने कब से हो रहा है अभी? बोला ग्रैंडफादर के टाइम से हो रहा है. So मैंने can't do something about it? तो क्या करेंगे साहब? जी बोल रहे हैं इसमें कोई धंधा ही नहीं है, दम ही नहीं है. मैंने why not? What kind of welding you do? He said, trucks come, buses come, cars come. I do welding for them. They do welding for them. Get in the market. So I said, I mean, just a loud thinking. I said, why can't you keep some stuff that they need anyway? You know, mobile oil or whatever it is. You know. So what I am saying is, opportunity is around you. You have to look or open your eyes. You don't see certain things right in front of you, ignore it. Because क्या यार वेल्डिंग वाला काम क्या दम है इसमें? अरे रिक्शा वाला भी एंटरप्रेन्योर है, भाई ऑटो वाला भी एंटरप्रेन्योर है. They have different way of doing things, you know. So what of all that? So change your thinking. No small, work is small. Entrepreneur means independent, work yourself, do something for yourself and something for people around you. What happened if the business increase for a dealer, you have more people, no? So automatically job creation is there. So the question is very simple, that is one part of it. Second part is ethics. When you take ownership, as somebody touched on it, why not be honest about it, you know? Like I take a piece of paper, nobody is here, I just throw it on the floor, one take it, nobody is seeing it now. But even I am seeing it. He is seeing it, so I have to be honest with myself. So honesty or the ethics we talk about, like we talk about Aam Aadmi Party and all that, we don't have ethics. What are we going to spread? Industrialization has taken place. We have grown. Economy has grown. But corruption has grown too. What has entrepreneur done? Spread corruption? What nonsense, you know? I was just thinking one day, what we have done? Have we grown? No, we have not grown. We expect corruption only, you know? काम होना है यार. I am an entrepreneur. Office में जा रहा है. Work is not getting done, so I'll pay some bribe and get my job done. So what I have done? I have undone what I have done, you know. So where do I start? It's not a question to ask. Where the question to ask? As a matter of fact, Mr. Tripathi, that one I failed, I thought, business is not for the honest people. Because we will be very honest people, you know. Because we will submit bills to the pickup, discount on it, you know. वो हंस रहा है, बोल रहा है, डिस्काउंट वाला बिल सबमिट कर रहे हो, लोग डिस्काउंट से जेब में डाल लेते हैं. यार हम डिस्काउंट लेके क्या करेंगे यार, हमारी कंपनी है ना ये, हमने पैसा लगाया इसमें तो हम डिस्काउंट हमारी है ना, तो क्या बोला मैं दिखाने में उसको बोला. I didn't understand then, understood now. So the question is very simple. If you want to become an entrepreneur, as a student, you have to develop ethics. And believe me, very hard to come by. Very hard to come by. It is not taught. We talk about ethics and integrity, you know. Ethics is something from outside, force. चौराहे पे लाइट पे पुलिस वाला नहीं है तो रेड पे क्रॉस कर जाते हैं. पुलिस वाला खड़ा है तो खड़ा जाते हैं. Rules फॉलो करते हैं. Integrity is I stand there, respect policeman is there or not. It is internal. Ethics is external. So have internal honesty, not external, my dear friends. Then you will grow. No amount of money, no amount of ideas will be worth a piece of paper is written on. I'm telling you. You may grow in short term. All the big organizations we talk about longevity, survival. I remember in my time, there was a company called Metal Box, doesn't exist anymore. Gaston Williams doesn't exist anymore. Tata exist. Right? Why? They have ethics, social responsibility, you know. They work on that. There was somebody touched on that. It's not today, it's something new, it's happening, you know. Earlier when we used to work in organizations, we thought we are the owners. That's why we got long time in the same organization, because we thought we were the owners. The thing is not changed now. Concept has changed now. We don't think we are owners. We are employees. The thinking of ownership, I feel, is linked to entrepreneurship. You can be entrepreneur on the job also. That's what entrepreneurship. So I can do it. There is nothing, no hard and fast rule for anything, believe me. It's how you take out of it, how you make out of it. That's all I have to say. Nothing more to it. Everybody has said enough on this. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Plug, Plunge, which is stories more about the similar thing. We have people who've been working very like jobs from IIMs and from other business schools in the world. And they are now doing, after 15 years of the job, they left the job on day one. Like in the morning, they wake up and say, I'm no more the job, I put the resignation letter on my email, and I've taken, I don't want even a salary if you don't want to give. And they've gone to the thing which they want to do, which they always thought they always liked to do, because they think job is so monotonous, so boring, which is not aligned to my passion. And that's the book tells about the story of all such people, especially in India, I would say, and they go into a businesses which are very different. Like one of the IT professionals who've been into a very good sales director, and he's been from America region for one of the big IT companies. He went into kind of going a restaurant in Bangalore. There's another guy who from IIM, he's moved to something else really doing a coaching for the students like you. He said, I don't want to do the job. It's not my kind of stuff. I'm not passionate. It doesn't give me excitement every morning I wake up. It's like it puts pressure. Somebody is putting a pressure to me to go to the job. And those people are really leaving the job after 15 years because they realize that's not my kind of thing. It's not giving me internal pleasure, happiness. I'm feeling stress. And even I tell you, there are a lot of people in this corporate world today who are really sick at the age of just less than 40, who are having a lot of problems just because of the stress they're going through, because the job is not what they like and they still have to do the job. And it creates so much stress to them, which creates problems like diabetes, they become cardiac arrest and so on, as young as less than 40 years. And I have colleagues in the office sitting just next to me who into these problems. Just because they say this is not my thing, but I have no other option. It's too late for me to think. Because I have so many loans to me to repay. I have my kids whom I need to really pay their school fees. I have my apartment where I need to put up the EMI and so on. So it becomes so stressful for them, they have no option to come out of it. And this is a story about all, you can hear in this book, especially about all such stories about people really moving to very different kind of business. Even in a few colleagues in my office, in IT, they're always shifting to farming. Really in Maharashtra villages, they're really shifting to farming and really spend most of their holidays what they are allowed in a year in their farm. Just doing farming, organic farming, new business model there in the farming to improve it. And that's the passion they like. Even if it includes all like school like IIMs and all the graduates are there. Whom I'm working with my cousin also from IIM. So, and these people are really leaving those jobs and doing what they like. They're fed up. That's the state they are in. Because by the time you join a job, that's the only thing you look for. Like for example, here all of you, just only thing you look for is job. You don't know anything else. What are the options? Because other options are dangerous. And that's all the risk items. And I think that's where the business, the life starts. That's where the career starts in you.
Actually, it is said, just to corroborate your statement, not taking risk is the greatest risk of all. If you are not able to take risk in life, you want to play safe, believe me, that is the greatest risk in your life.
And I think I just said also that, risk-taking ability, all of you can be entrepreneurs. Because we've talked about so many, this block, that block. I'm sure each of you have some of those blocks. But I think one thing which you have to see that, do you have the capability to take risk? Do you want to go without a job for next 1 year? You can all explore yourself. All those entrepreneurs which we talked about, I don't think they have ever thought they will become entrepreneurs. I don't think they were with that mindset always. Some of them, maybe at a later stage, they realize they could be entrepreneurs. So I think all of you can be entrepreneurs, but that risk-taking ability you have to develop in yourself.
So one question I have. Sir, we have a genuine question, one ingenuine question. So I had an imagination. I've been to a lot of conferences related to this particular topic, very interesting one, entrepreneurship. Why it happens that it always go in a normal process? The normal one is that we always give the names and the companies of those people who left their formal education. We have hundreds and 200s or at least 1,000 examples where people, they have done a very good formal education. We have William E. Boeing sir, he was a topper of Yale University. We have Herbert Packard, he was from Stanford University, they were toppers. We have Stephen Wozniak, he was one of the very fine students of Stanford University. Hundreds of examples are there. Do we do that deliberately, or we try to tell that, look, if those people who have left their formal education, if they can start something, so can you also. Or we are trying to say that if you leave your formal education and then you start something, that you really have to be genius. Are we trying to put that one? Because innovative thinking can come from both the sides, but why this thing always? This is in tradition.
That to negate that formal education.
Very true. We have to, because you know what happens in mind, students, they get this idea that in the end nothing is going to happen because those people who haven't studied, they can start their business. So we can, after third semester when they come by doing the training in the company, that's what the idea they get, and they do not come to the college. So in the end, don't you think that it is leading to one of the more problems?
So I think the percentage which you saw on the slide is very, very small. Most of the people you see, successful entrepreneurs, they're all highly qualified. So I think this example when they give about is what they're trying to say, that it is not necessarily only that educated people can be an entrepreneur. But we cannot, I think if you today do an overview, there will be a very small percentage what we show on the slide. Otherwise all entrepreneurs, I think they're all well qualified. So we need that. So we need that.
Should be given to everybody.
The big questions that we have, can we have entrepreneur by design?
Yeah.
Right?
That question if you can.
Right?
Entrepreneurs by chance is understood,
So like I said, all of you can be
But
entrepreneurs.
can we have by design?
Can we design the school?
I think it will never happen by design unless you have the passion. Passion never comes by design. So it's education and all things which we're saying is example, but we're saying you have to understand your passion. Because if that's not identified, as we said, you will flop in your business. Unless it's there within you, like making just for the money. It will live for a short while and then it's gone. But unless it comes from you deep, the passion to make it different, and really touch the needs of the people, really to the heart, I think that will succeed. And one other thing which I always challenge about the business schools, we always talk about money, and profit, plus and minus ratio. And as I say, the whole dimension will likely to change in the next 20 years, because our organization will not run for the money, it will run for more social value. And the moment we are into this frame of mind, that's what our systems are educating, that we just have to look for the money. That's the only thing which is there. Even if I look at my organization, we're just targeting about money as the prime motivation to run the business. How the people are treated, how long are they work, nobody really bothers. Like HR don't have that HR feel, although they are HR. So it's more about coming out, do you know your passion, irrespective of your education, whatever it is. And from my experience, and what I observe people who are not educated enough, they're becoming easy to identify their passion than more educated people. Because the education frames you into a very limited set of mind. And when you're not educated, you become more open mindset because you can think any field you like. Like management graduates I always appreciate because they don't have tied to any specific domain. You have open mindset to think anything. But still we become so much constrained at some point that the education system says you are only science graduate, you're a doctor, that's it. And doctor cannot think of doing farming again. So that's what the education system is telling us today. So the moment you are become like a Harvard University graduate topper, you become very confined in your ideas of running a business. You don't know whether it's a passion for you or not. You become very logical about your thinking. And that's where the difference lies. And that's why I say the people, all these are really people who touch with brands which kid knows.